Mrparka here to shoot one from MVD. This is the second of the Andrew Parkinson trilogy, the first being iZombie. This is Dead Creatures. I believe this was made a few years after iZombie. Like I said before, I'm a big fan of iZombie, and I was really curious to see the trilogy, the rest of the movies. This is Dead Creatures, also released previously. I believe it might have been a Fangoria DVD as well. I put this one in, and it does feel like one of his films for sure. Has that kind of, you know... He has the idea that he took zombies in the last movie and he did a completely different zombie movie with the origin and everything. It was not necessarily your typical zombie movie at all. This is kind of your untypical vampire story. He treats it again as a disease. Definitely a focus on disease and, you know, this kind of the desperation and depression type deal. This movie, though, I thought the pacing was kind of off. I thought it was very slow. I thought it was flatline. It didn't really escalate much for me. It was just the whole tone of the movie was kind of like a midday soap opera.
Come on, darling, we've all been through it. Just relax and go with the flow. It's going to be okay. Try to let go. Concentrate on your breath. Gently in and out. Like waves breaking on a beach.
But the special effects are really good in it, and all practical effects, really good gore effects. What happens is this group of women are bonded together. They have this kind of disease where they must feed on people, hence kind of like vampires or zombies, I guess. They do start to deteriorate as well and begin to fall apart, and they have to be put out of their misery. They lose their mind, things like that. There's a group of them, about 5 or 6, and they kind of live in the shadows and things like that and come out at night and pick people here and there, and they have a new recruit. And one recruit who's actually on her last leg. The special effects on her are really good. Her head's bloated and whatnot. But of course, trouble rears its evil head for them, even more so than it was before with the rotting and the disease and the having to kill people and hide, in the form of what seems to be some modern-day vampire hunter. He is kind of onto these creatures, if you will, and he's seemingly looking for something, but he does it in a harsh way where he doesn't really take any prisoners. If you're one of these things, you're done. He uses a pretty unique weapon that calls for a pretty cool special effects, which is kind of not necessarily it's a metal pole that strikes out, with a blunt pole that strikes out and goes through heads and things like that with a lot of power. The special effects are cool in that, I think, and there's a gratuitous special effect where there's a body with a torso with a missing head, and it's just a naked torso, and it looks really good. But as far as the story, I just think the story is good. I think the special effects are great. I think the acting's fairly decent as well, but the pacing is just really off, which makes this one really, really kind of dreary and boring. Dreary not in a good way like iZombie dreary. That's just this is just kind of it feels like I'm sitting on Sunday or in the middle of summer as a kid, and it's one of those dog days of summer, and I'm just waiting for the day to be over for something better. Not necessarily a horrible movie at all. I don't want to give that impression, but like I said, it is a little disappointing compared to iZombie. It is, I would say, it does have good locations as well, and it leaves off as kind of the circular story type deal that will go on and on and on. And there's a particularly strong scene towards the end, and it shows some good acting. I actually was pretty sad at the end. I could feel some emotion in there. But like I said, this one it's a well-made film, but it's just very, very slow, and the pacing. I can't say I'm a huge fan of this movie, but I'm interested to see the third one. Some people could say this is zombie or a vampire type deal. I'm not necessarily sure what you guys would pick. Either or, it is somebody feasting on somebody else, and they have a brain, and they're trying to survive, and they need to do it to survive. But I would say really check out iZombie. You could take or leave this one. Like I said, if it sounds like it's something you might like, really a slow-paced thing, I would call it slow burn, but slow burns usually kind of explode at the end, or at least give you some sort of weird, ending deal. This one I thought just kind of cut off, and it's just kind of a slice of life movie that's pretty slow. But it's not a bad movie, and I think I could see some people really enjoying this one as well. But that is Dead Creatures. There's a making of, there's a director's commentary, and whatnot. And I believe this cover actually is better than the original cover. The original cover, I think, was a really closed-up face. But I'm Mr. Parka. Thank you very much for watching. Have a good one.